Welcome everyone to today's show talking about activism and local community building. I'm Kinga from Hungary and here in the radio I have Yeva with me. Today's radio show is going to be a bit special because one of our guests couldn't be here at this time, so we recorded the conversation. So we are going to listen to the recording first, and after it, we will always check the Facebook page for any comments or any questions. And after that, we will discuss some more about activism with Yeva. So our two guest speakers were Vicky from here from Stara Zagora and actually my father. And we were talking about two projects that they've participated in. But I will give the microphone to the recording because it's better to hear it from them.
Do you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So years ago, I tried to present my school, to represent my school as a young mayor. And actually, it's a great idea for our city, and I think every city in Bulgaria and the world has to have this thing.
Okay, so I'm just going to translate, sorry.
It's
Oh
yes, okay.
Szóval a Viki részt vett egy ilyen a városnak a fiatal polgármestere, gyakorlatilag ez a címe a programnak, ami így az iskoláját képviselvén, meg a fiatalságot képviselvén egy olyan program, amit szerinte így egész Bulgáriában, meg az egész világon kéne mindenkinek folytatnia. Okay, continue.
Yeah. So this program is about teenagers between I think 16 and 19 years from high school, and they have to have an idea, like an idea which will make the city better for living, for the teenagers and for the young people. You can translate.
Okay. Szóval ez egy olyan program, aminek az a lényege, hogy a város élhetőbb legyen a fiatalok számára, és hogy a tínédzsereknek is legyen valami köze annak, hogy hogyan van a város vezetve. Okay.
Okay. So, the first round is at the school, because if more than one person wants to go on this thing, they have to present their ideas to the teachers. And I don't know actually how they pick the teachers, but we were going to the teachers that are representing this program, and they actually pick one of us to represent their school. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
after this, because I won at my school.
Oh,
actually.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
So I'm just going to translate just real quick, okay?
Okay.
Szóval,
Okay.
hogy minden, úgy az van az első procedúrának az első lépése, hogy minden diák, aki jelentkezni akar, az egy olyan tanárhoz megy, aki ebben a programban benne van, és akkor így gyakorlatilag van egy ilyen, mint egy dökös választás, gyakorlatilag olyan az első fordulója az egésznek.
Azt akartam kérdezni, hogy ez iskolánként van egy ilyen képviselő, vagy pedig városi szinten?
Is there like a representative by every single school, or is it just on the level of the city?
Well, it's kind of from each school that wants to participate, because some of the schools doesn't want to represent. Yeah. For
Okay,
example, the evil school always participate, but the year I went there was no, there weren't a person from there.
Oh, okay. But then it's just the first round, right? And then...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So az első
Yeah,
fordulóban...
the first round is at the school, like, if from my school, we are like 4 people who wants to represent the school. We are going, and this is the first round. The second round is the debate. Okay, that's better. The second round is just the main thing. If you won, you're going to be the mayor, the young mayor.
Okay, so it's first the schools and then the city, right?
Yeah.
Szóval, hogy...
Értettem.
Micsoda?
I'm understood.
Okay.
Okay, so can I continue?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So then when I won the first round, I had to prepare my ideas, and actually it's unwritten rule that the idea which costs less money wins always. It's like because after this program, when you become a young mayor, actually you can make your idea true, and it's so cool. And that's why I think they pick a person who has the idea with less money, and that's more impressive and yeah.
So as to use the creativity to have less cost? That's what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to translate then. Szóval, hogy van ugye a városi forduló, amire minden egyes iskolai jelöltnek kell készíteni egy projektet, amiben benne van mindenféle pénzügyi összegzés, meg minden, de hogy az a lényeg az egésznek, hogy minél kisebb legyen a pénzügyi kassa a dologhoz, a költségvetése, hogy minél kreatívabban kelljen az embereknek megoldani ugye azt, hogy egy-egy projektet létrehozzanak. És aki elnyeri...
Fél az, hogy egy városi szinten, tehát mondjuk a város önkormányzatának mellett működő diákpolgármester lesz a nyertese, vagy hogy mondjam, tehát ez a célja.
Hát igen, de hogy kicsit más, mert itt egy projekt az, ami megvalósul. Okay, so my father just asked me if this would be something that the student mayor would be working together with the government, but is it like that or just the project?
We have one institution here, which we call MOS. It's like an organization that it's that the people who in the city who are talking to each other on meetings about what will happen in Stara Zagora and so on. I don't know the word in English actually.
Okay, so it's an organization?
Probably something like that. And this is the young thing, the young version of this. So the people in this institution are the people who are working with the mayor, like not like talking to the mayor all the time and getting things with him, but they have the permission to have projects and make them come true.
Okay, I understand now. Szóval, hogy így gyakorlatilag egy külön szervezet, ami segít a városvezetésben, és ennek a fiatalok számára létrehozott verziója az, amiben ez a diák elnök bekapcsolódhat. És van jogosultságuk arra, hogy projekteket hozzanak létre, és ezekhez költségvetést kérjenek az önkormányzati szervektől.
Kérdezhetek?
Persze.
Tehát gyakorlatilag ez egy olyan működő rendszer, amiben ugye folyamatosan működik, csak legfeljebb a projektek kapcsán cserélődnek azok a figurák, akiknek éppen olyan projektje van, amit itt jól meg lehet valósítani. Az az igazi nagy kérdés, hogy ez mennyire működik, tehát mennyire hajlandó mondjuk a város vagy a nagy politika együttműködni, illetve tehát, hogy értsd a kérdést, hogy mennyire színjáték az egész, vagy mennyire érdemi, hogyha ők adott esetben ellenvéleményen vannak.
Okay, so my father asked the question if it's the organization is working all year long with this student and it's just always the different person who wins with the projects, but the question is that do they have any say in how the city is run, and do they, if they disagree with something that the mayor wants to put through regulation or something, do they have any say in the matter, or is it just a formality?
Yes. Like the mayor is just how can I say it? The physical face of everything. So he's like the mayor. Like you know that our mayor, for example, doesn't take all the things in his hands because he has more work. So if the young mayor has an idea, he will propose it to the institution, the other young people who are not only young people, you know, I think they have a teacher with them. So she or he has an idea, so she or he tells the idea to the others, and they are discussing it. And after this, they they are deciding if they're gonna do it, if there'll be something different that they do with it. But often the ideas of the young mayor, and not only the young mayor, because everybody can give an idea to this institution and see if it will work. So everybody can give an idea, and they will see how they can manage to do it.
Yes, that's really nice. That's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
Szóval ténylegesen működik ez a szerv, és van beleszólásuk a város vezetésébe, és javasolhatnak is dolgokat.
Gratulálok nekik, ez nagyon jó.
Yeah, he congratulated this idea because it's really good. Okay, so let's talk a bit about what my father was doing.
What?
Like, let's change the topic because we have been talking about this for 12 minutes. So let's just talk a bit about what my father has been doing, and then we can go back to this, okay?
Okay.
Szóval most akkor mondjuk beszéljünk kicsit a rádióról, vagy erről a lokátoros dologról, hogy mi volt ez az egész, meg hogyan.
Jó.
Kezdheted bármikor.
Én?
Hát igen.
De akkor mondjad, hogy miről szeretnétek hallani, mert én nekem közben millió gondolat van, meg itt a képernyő előtt.
Hát, hogy mit csináltatok a rádióban? Mit csináltatok a rádióban, mi volt ennek az értelme, hogyan volt ez a tubeses dolog és minden?
Jó, hát akkor első körben arról kellene beszélni, hogy az 1990-es évek elején, amikor itt Magyarországon még csak hallani lehetett a civil egyesületek működéséről, fontosságáról, vagy non-profit szervezeteknek a működéséről, akkor a petákék erre nagyon ráharaptak, és hát a akkori lakóhelyükön, ami hát akkor mi nekünk ugye még nem ez volt a lakóhelyünk, elkezdtünk itt különböző dolgokban gondolkodni.
Okay.
Én relatíve kimaradtam belőle, és akkor...
Jó, várja, lefordítom, hogy a Viki értse, hogy miről van szó.
Jó.
Okay, so basically the main idea is that in the 1990s in Hungary it was not really popular to have the civilian groups and NGOs, and close family friends, they actually started this idea looking at the American and British examples and examples from the West by starting
And Irish.
Starting this civilian organization that in their local area that was working in that area, and at that time we were not living there, but and my father was not that involved, but this is just the beginning.
Oh, cool.
Okay?
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Folytathatod, csak közben egy kicsit sok a háttérzaj.
És akkor így az 1990-es években megalakult ez az Istenkúti Közösségét Egyesület a petákék vezetésével, és hát amikor mi visszaköltöztünk Pécsre, akkor hát mi is bekapcsolódtunk ennek a munkájába különböző frontokon, illetve hát különböző tevékenységi körökben. Azt fordítsd le, és akkor utána nagyjából elmondom, hogy mivel kezdett el az Egyesület foglalkozni, jó?
Okay, so it was the family, like the whole family of Peták, this the surname. They were starting with different projects and different things, and then our family, or my father, joined later with different type of project that just helps build a community.
Nice. And when actually the people decided to join those kind of things, like you say it's something new for Hungarian, so.
Well, it was new in the 1990s, because at that time it was not something to have these NGOs, but then after it became more and more popular, and now we have like millions of NGOs.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so now he will just talk about what they actually did.
Okay.
Okay, so folytatod.
Jó, hát ennek az Egyesületnek a legfőbb célja a közösségfejlesztés volt, és hát ennek az égisze alatt nagyon sokféle tevékenység folyt. Az első nagyon lényeges dolog volt az, hogy meg tudta szerezni az Egyesület, és üzemeltetni tudta itt a területen levő művelődési házat, és onnantól kezdve ennek a programjait és az Egyesület
nagyon hangos a kutya.
Nyitott módon, hogy külsősöket is bármikor befogadott.
Kutyák hangosak a háttérben.
Jó, akkor nem cigizek, akkor majd csak utána. Okay.
So basically the main thing with this organization was to build a community, the local community, and they could gain this by they actually could buy like a community house where they were working in, and from there they could organize more and more stuff like the community activities, camps, and every kind of art performances and radio shows and these kind of things.
Nice. Okay.
Tehát igaziból ez az épület volt a bázis, és itt egyrésztről működött az Egyesületnek a adminisztratív vezetése, és hát ami az első időkben volt, azok mindenféle olyan helyi kezdeményezések itt megvalósulhattak, tehát például a Kati néni nyugdíjas klubja, ahol hímeztek, meg kismamatorna volt, akkor lakossági fórumok voltak, a helyi rockzenekar próbálhatott itt. Ugye akkoriban az internet még nem volt egy ilyen könnyen elérhető dolog, tehát a teleházat elkezdték üzemeltetni, a környék egyetlen sportpályája van ott, amit bármikor bárki használhatott, és gyakorlatilag mindezt non-profit módon, tehát igaziból itt a rezsiköltségeken kívül annak a két embernek a fenntartása volt összesen költség, akik az adminisztratív munkát, tehát a könyvelést és egyéb adminisztratív munkát végeztek az Egyesületben. Okay. Lehetett ingyen fénymásolni, ami akkoriban még nem volt, kiállításokkal jöhetett gyakorlatilag bárki, és ez a legfiatalabb generációtól a nyugdíjasokig.
Okay. So basically the basis for this was this building where they had a sport field completely for free for the youth to use. They, when people didn't have access to internet in the 90s, they built a house just for, like there was a room just for using internet with a lot of computers. There were art exhibitions. Everyone could start their own projects. Like our neighbor wanted to start a weaving activity or knitting activity for pensioners, and they helped her and they provided the place for that. And from the really young age, from sport activities for pregnant women to the point when the pensioners sit together, knitting, talking, and gossiping. They help with everything,
Oh,
and it was
that's cool.
it was completely non-profit. This community.
Yeah. Nice.
Oké, folytatod, de egy kicsit meg konkrétan, hogy így mit csináltál.
Ugye ezzel párhuzamosan indult el az Istenkúti hírlevél, ami ugye egy nyomtatott sajtótermék volt, amiben megint csak bárki bármit írhatott, nyilvánvaló hát bizonyos, tehát hogy mondjam, a morális határokon belül leírható volt bárkinek a véleménye. Ez egy pár éven keresztül ment, és akkor ezzel párhuzamosan indult el ez a bizonyos rádió, a Remete rádió, amihez egy saját adó volt, és egy körülbelül 3 kilométeres körzetben volt hallgatható. Folyamatos műsorok voltak, igaz, hogy ismétléssel, de hát azokban az időkben, amikor ez ment, akkor hát ezt az Ádám jobban tudná, de én úgy emlékszem, hogy legalább egy ilyen 8-10-12 heti önálló gyártású 1-2 órás műsor volt a legkülönbözőbb témakörökben, úgyhogy ezeknek a műsoroknak a nagy részét a felnőtt emberek készítették munka mellett.
Okay, so basically they had a journal that everyone in the area could publish in, and then parallel to that they started the radio show, which was on their own frequency, and there were like about 8 or 10 different programs that were made by local people just about anything. They were not professionals, they were working, and then in their free time as a hobby they made these radio shows. So it was really for the community.
But you said everyone can publish there, but are the things that they want to publish passing through someone who is reading them? And
yeah, of course it's not everything that you can publish, but most of the things, like if it's not really offensive or not just for the negativity, it could be published in the journal.
Nice, that's cool.
Okay. Akkor kicsit arról, hogy a tubessel kapcsolatban mi volt ennek a lényege.
Jó. Még annyit kell elmondani, hogy ezzel párhuzamosan is ez már egy kicsit átköt a Tubesbe is. Ugye a petákék elkezdtek ezzel a civil közösségfejlesztéssel foglalkozni, és ennek ilyen konferenciái, illetve tréningjei voltak rendszeresen itt is. Amikor egyszer csak jött egy olyan feladat, amire előzetesen senki nem számított, és szinte egy életre folytán jutott a tudomásunkra, hogy mit terveznek, és fordítsd le, és akkor utána mondom akkor a konkrét dolgokat, jó?
Okay, so this place is the origin of a bigger story, but this place was a common place for conferences about environmental things and about different topics, and they kind of happened upon a document by which they got to know a really bad thing, which was the main project that this community building and this community could achieve. So he's going to talk about it a bit later.
That's nice.
Okay.
No, tehát úgy indult az egész dolog, ugye, hogy a mecseknek egy másik pontjára szeretnének egy katonai lokátort építeni, amit a akkori köztársasági elnök, hogy hívják tudod, hogy ki volt, az nem jut eszembe a neve. Nem mindegy, akkori köztársasági elnök, mint természetvédő megakadályozott, illetve hát a helyiekkel összefogva megakadályozott, és akkor kitalálták, hogy ezt a mecseknek egy másik pontjára helyezik el, ami viszont itt van közvetlenül Pécs fölött, és gyakorlatilag pár száz méterre a legutolsó lakott helytől.
Okay, so
Tovább, és akkor összefoglalod, vagy?
lefordítom inkább. So basically the thing was that all these documents about the surrounding forest, which is kind of a national, it's not a national park, but it's a, it's kind of a reservation. So it's a really healthy forests and healthy animal lifestyle, and they try to preserve it. And they had all these documents, and by accident, they got a document saying that the NATO wants to build a military radar on top of one of the hills, and the prime minister, or the minister in Hungary who was responsible for all these activities, he was really active in preserving the environment, and so he prevented this military radar to be built on that mountaintop. But that meant that they needed to find a new place, and the new place for that would be on a mountaintop that is like 300 meters or a kilometer away from inhabited areas of my city.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was a really bad choice.
Yes.
No, mindez úgy történt, hogy ennek a kijelölése gyakorlatilag a nyilvánosság teljes kizárásával történt, tehát egy teljesen véletlenszerű információ, ami hozzánk eljutott, ami igazolta azt, hogy az emberek háta mögött ezt meg akarják valósítani. És akkor elhatározta az Egyesület, hogy mozgósítja a város lakosságát, és a város lakosságának a segítségével megpróbálja megakadályozni ennek a katonai lokátornak a ide telepítését.
Okay, so then after they saw this document, they started to search about it, and they found out that it was not made public for the people living in the city, so they knew nothing about what they wanted to build there, and then the organization decided to get the people who were living there involved so that they can prevent this action.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
No, szerintem kicsit nagyobb lépésekbe érdemes haladni, mert
Persze.
részletekbe. Tehát az lett a lényege, hogy hát különböző próbálkozások, meg tárgyalások, meg sajtózás és egyéb után nem maradt más lehetőség az Egyesületnek, mint egy helyi szintű népszavazást kezdeményezni, és ennek a népszavazásnak a eredményét ugye
most eltűntél kicsit. Okay, so my father seems to disappear. In the meanwhile, I'm translating it. So they started doing the negotiations with the government. They started to get the press involved and everything, but nothing seemed to help. So then they decided to turn to the public and turn to the people, and they try to create a vote for the people that they can vote on a referendum, so that they can vote on if they want this to be built or if they don't want it. Do you have any questions in the meantime about this whole procedure or anything?
I actually understood everything. Like it's a cool thing. I've never heard about something like this.
Yes, and it's really strange that the government wanted to prevent the people from knowing that this is going to happen to them, and it was really thanks to this community that they could prevent it.
Yeah.
To do this.
Igen, hirdetni azt, hogy minél többen vegyenek részt a népszavazáson, és hát megint csak az volt a lényege, hogy igaziból a képzőművészek által, vagy iparművészek által felajánlott fizettük ki a terembérletet, illetve az összes többi művésznek kizárólag a költségét, tehát pénzt haza nem vitt senki ebből az egészből.
So the whole project and the festival was financed completely by the artists' offerings, and all the money that they gained in the auctions and everything, they didn't take it away. They offered it for the financing of the project.
Amit még fontos lenne elmondani, hogy utána ugye a népszavazás ilyen adminisztratív, meg ilyen választási matematika miatt nem lett sikeres, mert kevesebben vettek részt rajta, mint amennyien kellett volna, de a kevesebbek közül olyan sokan szavaztak egy irányba, hogy igaziból az egy irányba szavazás, tehát hogy nem akarunk lokátort, az a mennyiség, hogyha elmegy még pár száz ember szavazni, akkor ez a szavazat mennyiség elég lett volna ahhoz, hogy a népszavazás akadályozza meg.
The referendum was unfortunately unsuccessful because there were too few people who turned up to vote. But their votings were also obviously pointing to one direction, that if there were at least 100 more people who would have voted, then it could have been an actual referendum, and they had to stop the procedures into building the radar.
És akkor, mivel ez így nem sikerült, ezért akkor nekiálltunk, és azokat a jogi meg eljárásbeli problémákat keresgéltük meg, amiket a hatalmi szervek, tehát a Honvédelmi Minisztérium, meg a mindenféle államigazgatási szervek elkövettek, és akkor ennek a végeredménye lett egy olyan per, ami éveken keresztül húzódott, és a legfelsőbb bíróság nyílt ülésen tárgyalta 3 bíróval, ilyen talán a történelemben nem volt.
So they started looking for administrative mistakes that they might have made in the petition or the proceedings of building this locator, and then they went to court. And it has been, the court case was going on for years and years, and the final outcome of it was a discussion with the higher court, and it was my father thinks that in history it hasn't happened in Hungary before, that the 3 judges were having an open discussion in court about how they should judge on this case.
Ami nagyon fontos maga a centivágás. Mert ugye a centivágás volt az, ami azt hiszem 2 vagy 3 hónapon keresztül napi szinten kint voltunk egy-egy fél órára a Széchenyi téren, ahol minden nap más ember más szempontból mondta el, hogy miért nem kellene lokátor. Tehát a műszaki emberek a műszaki problémák miatt, a környezetvédők a környezetvédelmi problémák miatt, a vízügyesek azok a vízügyi problémák miatt, a haditechnikához, vagy hogy mondjam, hadászathoz értő emberek bizonygatták a fölöslegességét, pásztorat, a pszichológus bizonygatta azt, hogy ennek a félelemkeltő hatása milyen pszichés hatással tud lenni a város lakóira, stb. Stb.
So the most important part of this activity or activism was the part that they called the cutting of the centimeters, which was basically that every single day for 2 or 3 months they would go out to the main square in Pécs, and they would invite a different guest speaker for that event who would speak for half an hour about why it was unnecessary or not a good idea to build this radar on top of the mountain. And they invited military personnel who were talking about its necessity. They invited psychologists who was talking about the psychological and mental effects of this gigantic concrete building glooming over the people and this effect on their mental health. They were inviting people who work with the water supplies, telling how unhealthy it would be if it were built there. They were calling ecologists who were talking about how it would affect the economy, and they were inviting different kind of personnel for all these days.
És ennek a centivágásos sorozatnak a végén volt egy ilyen egynapos nagy fesztivál, ami ez a bizonyos Nyalóka fesztivál volt.
And at the end of this procedure of cutting the centimeter every day was this festival called the Lollipop Festival, which was the main symbol of this idea. So basically they had all sorts of involved artists in everything to make this festival, where they made all these posters. They involved a lot of people, and it with the main idea behind it that I think my father came up with was that this locator, this radar, it kind of looked like a giant concrete lollipop. And they made a festival, a lollipop festival, with this idea to raise awareness of this happening. And they made a lot of posters, people holding lollipops in the top of the hill, and they even made the special wrapping lollipops that they gave to children just to get people more aware of what was happening.
And then lollipops.
Yes. So it was a really, really good, it was a really positive way of dealing with this situation and problem.
Yeah, and when did
This festival was in 2006.
Yeah. And why don't they do it now?
Because they prevented, it was just to raise awareness, to prevent the building of this military radar. Also, they don't have the funds, so it took a lot of effort and a lot of funds and a lot of money.
Csengése meg az volt, hogy ugye az ügyvéd, a Halmos Péter, a 40 000 forintnyi költségtérítést kapott az egész per folyamért, amit utána felajánlott, és abból mentetek el az Orfűi barlangba kirándulni.
And in the end, the lawyer who was representing the community got an amount of 130 euros for the whole procedure that has been going on for years and years and months. And even that 130 euros that he got, he gave it to a community to make it possible for children to go see the local caves there.
Hát annyit kell még tudni, hogy nyertük a pert, bár a peták összefüggést nem lát, egy adminisztratív hibára hivatkozva visszavontak egy olyan pályázati pénzt, amit már az Egyesület felhasznált erre a célra, és így az adóhatóság eljárást indított és megszüntette az Egyesületet.
The end of the story was that after all these procedures, one of the companies that has been funding the activities refused to pay an amount referring to an administrative problem, but the community and organization has already used that funds, and so the tax authority decided to start proceedings against the organization, and they decided to make the organization cease all activities and dissolve. So thank you for listening to this long recording about these two projects that they've been doing. So now we are going to be listening to the radio show intro that my father and his friends did for the radio show in this community building, and after it we are going to be answering a few more questions with Yeva about local community building and activism. And start with the young mayor.
Do you hear me all right?
Yes.
Éter, Péter, potméter.
Mennyi Péter?
Ulvai Péter.
Peták Péter.
Balázs Péter.
Bagi Ádám. Tiszteletbeli Péter.
Szombat esténként 6-tól 8-ig.
Kritizálunk.
Olvasgatunk. Beszélünk.
Sztorizunk. Beszólunk.
Viccelődünk. Zomorkodunk. Muzsikálunk.
So we are back. This was just a tribute for this community and for all the good things that they've done in that local space. It was really amazing to be a part of it, and I'm really sad that this organization ceased to exist. But now it gives a future to a lot more organizations. So first of all, I want to ask you, Eva, if you know anything or if you have any idea of how to get more and more people involved into activism.
Well, first of all, hi everyone who's listening. I think one of the ways is by spreading the news through the people you know, usually. It's a way to spread most of the news since the beginning of human communities. Just to tell everyone you know about it and maybe encourage them to also join you.
Yes, and it has like the chance if you tell more and more and more people,
Yes.
it has a bigger chances that at least one or two of them are going to actually turn up, and if they like it, they are going to be involved
Also
the next time
spreads
also.
the news.
Yes.
Maybe also the advantages of our age now is that we can spread the news also through internet.
Oh yes, the easily accessible internet
Yes.
is really good.
It
Way.
is just like we are doing about our radio, spreading the news through
Yes,
internet.
so get involved into the radio show.
Yes.
It's really interesting, and we would like to hear a lot more from other people's perspective. That's why we are inviting a lot. So let's turn back to the local community building and activism. Do you think it's more important to have local activism, or it's more important to have these globally active events of just changing the world, or do you think it's more important to do it locally first?
I think locally is always the first. You know, if you cannot change something in your local community, how can you change the world? So, yeah, probably we should start by doing something closer to us, like local communities. Maybe, and if it's working, then you can also do something globally.
But do you think there could be different types of activisms that should be practiced locally only, or should be practiced globally only? Like now I'm thinking of, for example, like you live in a place where there are mountains, and you always think about the forest animals in the surrounding mountains, or I don't know what the things that could be connected to that area. But if you think about it, like there are places, for example, the Netherlands, that are below the sea level, and you cannot. So I think there are issues that you need to deal with on a global perspective. So, for example, the sea levels rising is a huge problem. But for some people, if you live in the mountains, you are not really concerned about the sea levels rising because you live like 2,000 meters above the sea level.
Yeah, but maybe there are ways to also, the reasons why the sea level is rising aren't they also influence some other perspective of life. So maybe the same can be said to those who are living in the mountains. Let's say the sea level is rising. Why?
Yeah, because the ice caps are melting, and because
it's
of
melting
global
because
warming.
of global warming,
Yes.
but also the warming is affecting those who are living in the mountains.
Yeah,
So
so yeah, it also is true, but yeah, so I also think that it's really important to do local activism, and some people really overestimate the importance of having just a local community, not even just for activism and for these kind of events, but if you have a community that's working good, then it's much more easier to raise awareness to these kind of things because you already have this kind of trust between each other.
Exactly.
So what do you think would be the best type of activism? Like how could you get your point through? Like for example, we had the like raising funds for the research into cancer and just helping those in need with running through the city center as a sport event.
Yes, I think there are a lot of different ways, and most of the ways are usually good ways to raise awareness and build.
Yes, but I mean,
community.
like you have a concert, you have a festival to raise awareness. It's completely every fund and every ticket that you buy, all the money goes to this certain society or this association or this organization. But if you think about it, like a festival leaves a lot of rubbish. It needs a lot of energy. So I think there should be some things to consider before creating an event.
Yeah, definitely. But also, there are ways, maybe if it's a community, if the event is toward the community that are into saving, like recycling and such a thing, maybe they will, if you point out that after the concert or after the festival, not to leave that many rubbish and trash, that we are fighting for that, maybe it also brings awareness to try and not litter around themselves.
Yes, it's really interesting, but I still think I would prefer some ways more
Of
than
course.
the others. So I think the best way, if you want to raise awareness to some environmental issue, to actually be in the environment, be in the forest, be around those animals, just to show all these people why they need to take care of their surroundings, why they need to be involved. But there are a lot of type of activism. There are activism for the environment, but there are also political activists.
Yes.
So do you think their work is important?
Of course, because what other ways can simple people influence politics more? By showing that they are active, by sharing their ideas, probably.
Yes, but it's a really interesting question about political activism because sometimes I feel that they overdo it. They push it too much.
Sometimes.
They are a bit too aggressive, but yeah, I think it's even if it's bad activism, it's good to raise awareness to a cause. So we had this question about raising awareness on Facebook by, for example, changing your profile picture. So there has been a lot of things, like for example, after the terrorist attacks in France, when you could change your profile picture to the French flag.
Yes.
So do you think this has any effect at all, or is it important to have this?
Well, to those who live nowhere close to France, and even to those who, let's say, don't really listen to news about Europe, and live somewhere far away, but they go on Facebook once in a while, maybe it is a way to actually hear
But
about
this
the
this
news.
doesn't appear for like I think there's a filter. If you live in Europe, you see these. If you live in Asia, you see
Really?
these.
I never knew.
I think they are filtered by place like the Google Doodle, but I don't know. I'm not sure. But do you think there's actually any good point with this?
Well, I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss it just because it's on social media. Maybe it doesn't bring very many advantages right away, but I do think that it is influencing the lives of people in some small maybe ways.
I don't know, because what I feel about this is just like, oh, I'm so sorry about this, so I will change my profile picture, but I won't do anything else. I don't think this is actually way of helping. Like, it would matter more if you were doing something locally. Like, it would be so much better if you were not. Of course, you sympathize with all these people in France. You sympathize with the victims. You sympathize with everyone, and you hate these crimes, and you hate terrorism and everything. But then you just go to sleep, and then you dream about eating a cake, and then you wake up in the morning and eat your breakfast, go to work, and you just continue on with your life. So maybe it would be better to actually not just change your profile picture, but change something else. And since you cannot go to France, it's not available for everyone to go to France and do something. I think it would be actually better if you started locally something to raise awareness that, for example, there's a lot of misconception that all people who are Muslims, they are bad people and terrorists. So there is something that you could do about that locally. Try to change the minds of the people in your community.
Yes, I think I agree with you. Always to do something locally just is better than just changing your photo. But if you cannot do, or if you have no access to being able to help, maybe just changing is also something little you can do.
Yes, and changing is really important for everyone and everything. It's a part of life, and it's a part of nature. So yes, let's go to the question that we asked on the Facebook page about type of a topic of activism. So do you think it's more important to be around people, for example, helping youth, or do you think it's more important to be around nature and helping animals and raising awareness to natural catastrophes and these kind of?
Actually, it's a very hard question to decide which one, because the kids, if you invest in them, they will grow up and they can also work on the nature. But also, nature is as important, because if we don't protect it, the kids might not have much nature left to live in. So I think it's probably best to be active in both, and or at
Yes,
least
but you don't. An average person doesn't have this much free time in their life. They are working, and then they can do something. So I think it's most people, or a lot of people that I know, would say that, oh no, they hate people, they don't want to deal with people, they have to deal with people like every day of the week. They would rather go just to the nature and do something. But I think it's actually better to work with the youth and raise a next generation that would be aware of these changes, that would be aware of how to prevent the catastrophes, and how to do something that would matter.
Yes, well, I think it also depends on the people. Like you said, some people are just too tired after a day of work to actually go and try to raise kids in a way to respect and protect nature. So in that case, maybe just to do something for the nature is better than to do nothing.
Or if they had this community building that my
Yes.
father has been talking about, just go to the community building, have a good talk with the others, maybe do some projects about the community, join some things, go on hikes together, and while on a hike collect trash or something. Just do something. I think it doesn't actually matter what you do, just do something.
Yes, always. Just like a few days ago on Facebook, I saw a picture, and on it they said, when you go on a hike, or to a beach or anywhere, just collect 3 trashes, and you will be doing much better.
Yes,
the
and
world.
even it's a really interesting question. Like, you're living in a community, and when I'm walking home, and I'm walking back and I see something, some trash lying on the ground, I pick it up. But when I'm walking somewhere else, I don't do that. Like, we need to change our own minds. Like, it does matter if you pick that up, and there's a million others, but there are also a million other people.
Exactly.
And if everyone picks up 3 pieces of trash, the world would be cleaner.
Exactly. So let's start picking trash.
Yeah.
And don't leave any of your own, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Let's leave this show at this. I think it's quite a good conclusion that
Yes.
we ended up at. So thank you all for listening to us. This was our radio show, and we are going to put this on YouTube. So if you've missed some part of it, don't worry. You are going to find it. It's going to be posted to our Facebook page, Online Radios by CEI. So see you next week, and next Thursday I believe we are going to be talking about food with Yeva.
Yes.
So be prepared and prepare your taste buds, because you're going to be blown away.
And share your traditional foods with us so we can
Yes.
share it on the radio.
Okay, so the next radio show is on Tuesday at 6 Bulgarian time, so see you next time. Goodbye.